So this is another little game or experience I've been working on for a project with some friends. This is the main menu. I just kind of created this little desert map since it's desert theme. So all the main menu does is just start the game. And this is like a little tarot card thing. So if you press one card, it deals you one card. You can flip it over. It plays this video
Find
for
your
you.
purpose. I have a purpose
You can skip the
within this
video.
life.
And then once you do that, you can reset. And you can do 3 cards. You can't click them out of order. You can only click the first card. You have to wait for that one to finish before you can click the next one. You can do the next one.
New person.
And then the last one.
Healing.
And that's pretty much it. So you can do some little meditations and enjoy these cool little
Support.
videos and meditations.
I
Friends and I put
am
together,
worthy
and I did
of
the art for the
support.
cards, and created the full game. So pretty cool little experience I put together with some help from teachers at GameGen. So the main components of this game are the game manager, the card base, and then the actual level blueprint comes into play quite a bit. So in the level blueprint, since I didn't create like a player character and all that, we set the camera and stuff in here and get the player controller, set its view, create the main UI buttons, add those to the viewport, and then we make sure that the player can use their mouse and click events. So we just set up some of the preliminary player controls in here on the camera. The game manager is doing most of the actual work. It doesn't have anything in the viewport, but it takes care of how the actual game works and plays. So basically, when we start the game, we get the card data, which is a data table that contains all the data for each of the cards. We also get the target points and add them to an array, and get the row names of the card data so we can use that to keep track of which have been used. We also set all these slot locations just from the target points and the starting location. That tells the cards where to go when they get dealt out. Then we also make a skip video widget, but we set that as collapsed when we create it. When we create the cards, when we select one or multiple, we're feeding in this number of cards. If the cards have not already been dealt, we're going to set them as dealt, otherwise we're not going to allow this to run. For the cards that have been created, we're going to loop and just create each of them, adding that to an array, and then counting the card amount. That's going to be used later when we want to make sure that we're made it through all the cards. We then set the data for each card by passing in data from the card data table. And basically this just gets a random row. It sets that as a selected row to use, gets the data from that row from the data table, sets the data in the card, which is a function inside of the card, making sure that it's using the card for the right array index. Then we remove the row we used from the names because we don't want to duplicate any usage. I can remove this print string now, actually. But yeah, that's basically how that works. And we just do that 3 times, passing in the correct array if we choose 3, and we just do it once if we're just using 1 card. So once the cards have been created, then we move them to their slot, so to speak. So basically that just gets the amount of cards so that we know if it's 1 or more. If it's more than just 1 card, then we're going to loop through the spawn cards, and then we play this timeline. Basically, that's just going to move along the timeline and lerp the cards from the starting location to the card location we set earlier, starting with card 1 going to the first location, and so on and so forth. So we've dealt 3 cards out. And if it's just one card, we're just going to get the target point for the center target, set that as the move location, and then we're going to move it via the timeline in the same way. And basically that's all except for the resetting. When we reset the level, we make sure that we've revealed all of the cards using the card amount earlier plus 1, because the card slots use an array different value. So we just make sure those are the same, and that tells us we've actually gone through all the cards already. If we have, we loop through each of the cards and just remove them. Basically that's going to call a function in the actual card itself. And then we're just going to clear the spawn card array, get the data again for the data table so we can reset the names, set the cards as not dealt anymore, and reset the card mountains and slots. The actual cards do some of the function as well. When they first get created, they find the video player and set that as the media screen, which is just a plane. It delays for a second to leave some time for the data to get set, and then we enable the input on the card. The data gets set from the game manager, and basically that's when we pass that random selected row in. We set all the card data, including its slot, which we're going to add the array and 1 to. That way, if it's in the 0 index, it's still 1. And we set that as a slot number, so we can keep track of that. We set its material to the correct image for the front, and we also reference the game manager. When we click the card, make sure that the slot number is the card slot to reveal, and that's how we prevent them from selecting the other cards until they've gone through the previous ones. We set the card is flipped, and then we can remove this as well, actually. Then we're going to basically use a timeline to flip the card around. So all that does is just rotates the card 180 degrees. Then once that's finished, we're going to set the visibility on the video player to visible. We're going to open the source video connected to the card data, delay a second to make sure it can update the video, and then we'll show the media screen and we'll begin playing. When they click F or the end of the video is reached, we're going to change the card slot to the next one to reveal. Then we're going to set the visibility of the skip video widget to hidden again, change the, hide the media screen again, and then stop the media player. So we can go on to the next card. And then when we remove the cards, all we do is just make sure that they're all flipped. Then we move them again with alert back to the starting position, and then we just destroy them. That's pretty much the entire game's function. So it's just somewhat simple. The most difficult part was getting the screen working. That was kind of the most hard part, and then getting the cards to deal out the way that I liked them to look. But other than that, it didn't take too long to get this up and running, and I think it looks really nice.